kind of set up around my home to do like different cosplay shoots and stuff, but that was it. Like my home wasn't even look like a home. It was like a big studio. So if someone would have said like, hey, you are worth so much more than this, or I was really struggling with insecurity at the time and thought that was like why I needed the attention, and the attention did feel good. And I wanted attention. Whatever that attention looked like, I didn't care because I just needed to feel something, you know? And I feel like I craved that so much, was just being able to feel something. And that's definitely a wrong way to go about it.
When she says there's absolutely something that could have been said, 100% to take me out of it.
And I don't think that's a conversation. I think that's the only part maybe I disagree with her on. I think if someone would have sat her down and had a come to Jesus moment conversation, I think it would have been it would have required a dozen conversations over doing life with her to get it to click. I don't think one conversation would have done it, which is hard.
Yeah, and so you're saying like the correction doesn't. You're gonna miss the connection if there's all correction but no connection. If there's no warmth and guidance versus actually guiding them back to Scripture.
Yes,
you're made in the image of God.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It goes back to this idea that like you can be right, but also fail,
and that's scary.
Yeah,
that's horrifying as a follower of Jesus. You can be so right but be wrong at the same time in the way you're going about it.
There is something to say for like having that grace and truth, like you're saying.
Yeah. And then I think of Galatians chapter 6, where it says, dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation, right? And so this idea of gently and humbly helping people get back on the right path and not just obliterating them and destroying them, I think is huge.
You may be wondering if her motivation to leave everything behind and to follow Jesus was simply to get her parents back in her life and to make them proud. I mean, it's clear from listening to her that she missed her parents a lot and she wanted nothing more than for them to embrace her with open arms, thankful that she finally came to see the light. But then this happened.
In my mind, I expected this change to be like the prodigal son returning, you know? In my mind, I was like, I hope that's something like what it's like to return home whole, and not whole. He didn't come back whole. He came back broken, you know? And then he comes back to his home, you know, where he belongs and got an amazing welcome. I'm not expecting
a delicious fatted calf.
Yes. And I wanted that, but it did not happen at all. And it kind of broke my heart a little bit. But
with either of your parents, it didn't happen.
So even though she's now at a place where her parents always wanted her to be, it seemed that they were still uncomfortable with her past. And even though, of course, she's very disappointed, she said,
but it's okay, you know? It's okay.
I think God does things like this sometimes because when we come to God, he wants us to see if we truly want him or if we've come to him as a means to get something else, a way to get the idol that we really want, the God of our hearts rather than him. This could be us coming to God only as a way to feel better about ourselves or to get a promotion at work or for him to help us find a spouse, or really anything else other than God. Whatever it is in our heart that says, if I just had that thing, then I would be whole and happy, that's the functional God of our hearts. But she said, ever since she's met God, this is what's been happening.
I am so thankful that God truly met me where I was, because I now feel emotions. Like, it was crazy. Like, the minute God met me in my living room, I started feeling, because it was a phenomenon of years and years and years of being numb and then feeling alone. And I had this moment with God where I was like feeling all of this, and I was sobbing in my living room, but I was at my wit's end. I had everything around me. I lived in a 4,200 square foot home, which was like $3.5 million. I drove a Porsche. I had any designer bag that you could want. I have everything.
How much money do you have at this point?
$9 million.
That is a lot of money.
Yeah. But man, that was the biggest point of all of this, was like, money doesn't matter. It did not bring me true joy. Like, you can be happy, like, oh, I just got a new bag, cool, but that's not joy. Like, the joy that the Lord gives you is like, well, one, he says it's your strength, but the joy that I have now is nothing compared to worldly happiness.
This is the tough truth that all Christians will eventually come to realize. We aren't promised a better or an easier life when we become Christians, but we are promised something far greater. And that's the point of the gospel, isn't it? It's because we gave the ultimate spot in the heart to other things other than God that they're destroying us. They can't do what only a relationship with God can do because we were made for a relationship with Him. And it's because God loved us too much to just sit back and do nothing that He decided to punt on human flesh and came from heaven to earth in order to die for us so that way we could finally be in a right relationship with Him. And if we make Him the ultimate lover of our souls, what He created us for, then even if we lose everything and everyone in this life, we can still know that we'll be okay since we already have everything that we need. Even if everything on the outside crumbles around us, in the midst of the greatest tragedies, if we make God the thing that our hearts truly desire more than anything else, then we can have His joy that gives us strength no matter what circumstances that we find ourselves in. And the key to making this more of a reality in your life is not loving any of those other things less. Instead, we just need to love Him more, and then everything else will fall into place. So make sure you pray for her and her new walk, and pray that God will use her life for His glory as He sees fit.